preserving the noir documentary style and American phrasing. In the 19th century, thousands of companies in America manufactured carriages and wagons. But when the smell of gasoline hit the roads, they began to die out like dinosaurs. Of all those thousands, only one company managed to survive the death of the horse and become a true automotive giant. Only one. It was Studebaker. They performed an impossible technological somersault that no one else could pull off. They jumped from the age of wood into the age of steel and chrome. By the 50s, this brand had become a style icon. Their cars were drawn by Raymond Loewy, the legend who conceived the shape of the Coca-Cola bottle. Their Starliner model was called the most beautiful car in the world, and that was no exaggeration. South Bend, Indiana was not just a city, it was the fortress of Studebaker. Grandfathers, fathers, and sons worked on the same assembly line, earning the highest wages in the industry. They believed their brand was as eternal as the wheel itself. But look at this date, December 9th, 1963. 2 weeks before Christmas. The city is decorated with garlands. And suddenly, an announcement over the loudspeaker. The factory gates are closing. 7,000 people found themselves on the street in a single day. An attempt to save themselves through a merger with the luxurious Packard led to catastrophe. Instead of staying afloat, they drowned each other. The great Packard turned into a cheap knockoff, and Studebaker became history. The great plant in South Bend emptied, leaving the city with an economic hole that hasn't been patched to this day. This is the story of the most fatal mistake in business history, the blind deal. How did it happen that two legendary companies decided to unite to survive? But instead of a life raft, they tied a concrete block to each other. This is an investigation into how design was ahead of its time, while management was half a century behind reality. Part 1. Origins, from horseshoes to motors. To understand this tragedy, we need to rewind the tape to the very beginning. The Studebaker story begins not with gasoline, but with the strike of a hammer on an anvil. 1852. The Studebaker brothers open a blacksmith shop. They supplied wagons to the Union Army in the Civil War and to the conquerors of the Wild West. The phrase, "Studebaker will always get you there," was an axiom back in the era of Mustangs. The uniqueness of this family was that they didn't hold on to the past. When the automobile appeared, they didn't fight progress. They led it. By the 1910s, they were already mass-producing cars, maintaining their reputation for unkillable reliability. South Bend grew around the factory. The company was generous, parks, clubs, high pensions. It was kind capitalism, where loyalty was valued above efficiency. But it was this generosity that planted the first-time bomb under the foundation. Because in the harsh world of business, kindness is an expensive asset. Part 2. The Ascent. Design as religion. After World War II, Studebaker decided, we can't beat Ford on volume, we'll win with style. They hire star designer Raymond Loewy. In 1950, a model with a bullet on its nose, bullet nose, is released. It looks like a fighter jet that accidentally landed on the highway. America is delighted. Studebaker becomes the car for those who want to stand out from the gray mass. 1953, the peak of triumph. The Starliner and Commander models are recognized as masterpieces of world design. They are low, sleek, European. Waiting lists in showrooms stretch for months. It seems the company has found its blue ocean. Part 3. Greatness, the trap of success. But behind the beautiful facade, rot was hiding. The South Bend plant was old and inefficient. To assemble one car, Studebaker spent 30 to 50% more man-hours than GM or Ford. The Studebaker union was the most spoiled in Detroit. Management, fearing strikes, raised wages and reduced production quotas for years. As a result, the production cost of the car was higher than its market price among competitors. The beautiful 1953 Starliner turned out to be a production nightmare. Body parts didn't fit together, front fenders rusted. The company spent millions on warranty repairs, burning profit in the furnace of quality control. Part 4. Signals of change, merger of the blind. By 1954, Studebaker was drowning in losses. They needed a partner. Packard appeared on the horizon, an aristocrat of the auto industry, who was also losing market share, but had money, and an ambitious director, James Nance. Nance dreamed of creating a fourth auto giant that would crowd out Ford and GM. He agreed to buy Studebaker, thinking he was buying a healthy asset. This was the moment of truth. The Packard team did not conduct a detailed audit. They believed the numbers on paper. Only after signing the documents did Nance arrive in South Bend and discover with horror that Studebaker's break-even point was at the level of 280,000 cars a year, although they were selling barely half of that. Packard didn't buy a partner. It bought its own death sentence. The money Packard had been saving for decades was sucked dry by the Studebaker hole in a single year. Part 5. The Fall, Packard-Baker, and Agony. Nance tried to save the ship, but it was too late. Banks refused loans. To survive, the company began slapping Packard badges on cheap Studebaker bodies. Ugly hybrids appeared, which fans contemptuously nicknamed Packard-Bakers. The great luxury brand was humiliated and destroyed. In 1958, the Packard mark disappeared. Studebaker was left alone, bleeding out. They released the compact Lark model, which briefly delayed the end. But management made a mistake. They poured the profits from the Lark not into modernizing the plant, but into buying other businesses, from airlines to lawnmower manufacturers. They were preparing an alternate airfield, knowing the auto business was doomed. The last hope was the Avanti sports car, 1962. Futuristic, fast, plastic. It was 20 years ahead of its time, but the factory simply didn't have the strength to produce it with quality. Windows fell out, paint cracked. The masterpiece did not save the dead man.